If you want to have great sex at every age, then you need to understand something that physicians were never taught and most patients don't know exists. We're talking about vaginal rejuvenation, but the problem is that term can be confusing, oversimplified, and often misunderstood. So I'm going to break this down simply at first, and then we will go deeper. At its core, all vaginal rejuvenation treatments are doing the same thing. They are communicating with the tissue, heating the tissue in a controlled manner in a way to trigger a repair response. When you heat tissue appropriately, your body will respond by regenerating or repairing itself. It's telling the body it's injured and to repair. So it can increase blood flow, increase lubrication, stimulate collagen, improve nerve signaling, enhance lubrication, like I said, strengthening tissue, tightening tissue, and all of that translates into real functional improvement. What does that mean? Better arousal, better sensitivity, stronger orgasms, improved lubrication, reduction in urinary leakage, and vaginal tightening. Now, there are different ways to achieve this, and there are three main categories: radiofrequency, microneedling, and lasers. So let's break those down. Radiofrequency, I'm going to stop there and just say that there are very limited technologies and unlimited brand names. So it can be confusing for patients. It can be confusing if you're on the internet. It's also confusing for staff and even physicians and providers. But radiofrequency, the brand names I'm going to use, but I just want you to know that there's very limited technologies and there's unlimited brand names. So it can be confusing, but most of the time you're breaking it down to the basics of the science. So radiofrequency, like Forma V or Votiva, and this is one that we use frequently. This is a workhorse for us, and I love it. It uses radiofrequency energy to gently heat the tissue. It's typically surface level heating, very comfortable, great for mild to moderate symptoms. Then there is radiofrequency microneedling. Yes, and I said microneedling, and inside the vaginal canal. And this sounds like it can be painful, but it really is not. And again, I didn't believe this until I went for my training on this device. And our device that we're using is the Morpheus V. And since then, I've had multiple procedures myself, so I can speak from experience that this is a very comfortable procedure. This is Morpheus V. What we're using is microneedling inside the vaginal canal to create those microchannels of energy and then deliver energy deeper into the tissue. So you can get more aggressive remodeling and regeneration. So what does that mean? That means more of everything, more collagen, more tightening, and better results for moderate to more advanced concerns. So now let's talk about lasers, because this is where it gets tricky. Historically, treatments like the Mona Lisa Touch use CO2 lasers, which are ablative. And what does ablative mean? It means it removes the top layer of tissue. And so with that, you might get more downtime, more discomfort, and eventually it led to FDA warnings that created fear around the entire category of vaginal laser rejuvenation. But here's the truth. That does not represent what modern laser vaginal rejuvenation is. We use an advanced laser platform, and it's called Photona. And when you use this system, then it allows for us to control the way that the energy is delivered. It has two wavelengths with the system. And again, I am going to go into a little bit of the laser science, but just know that I will not bore you, will not kill you with the laser science. But it is important that your providers know these. And I do want you to know how complex it can be, and that you should not get these treatments from just anyone, because it is actually a very effective treatment, but also can be very dangerous if done in the wrong hands. So there are two important wavelengths, 2940, which is an erbium wavelength, and the 1064, which is an Nd:YAG. So traditionally, erbium is ablative just like CO2. But with the right technology and training and the right providers, you can change the way that energy is delivered. So instead of ablating tissue and removing that top layer, we use longer pulse durations to create a more gentle heating. So this with our Fotona and with our treatment is called a non-ablative mode. It's called a piano mode, and it's a deep thermal mode of heating. So we can do deep tissue heating, no surface damage, no downtime. So we can treat internally for all those functional improvements, but we can also externally treat even areas like the clitoris for improved blood flow and sensitivity. I wanted to point out that again in medicine, we have focused on the female reproductive system. So if you think to the way that medicine has evolved, so medicine evolved at a time when disease prevention and treatment and survival was the front and center. That was the focus. And so we made great advances with medicine, but now we are living beyond our life expectancy at that time. And so now we have to think about the evolution of medicine to catch up with the longevity. And if you look at the female reproductive system, it doesn't even have the clitoris or the vulva in it. It is all internal organs. And so we didn't pay attention to the fact that the clitoris is an erectile tissue and the vulva is an erectile tissue. They also have hormonal components to it, hormonal receptors. So it's very important to have hormonal optimization, but it also is erectile tissue. So we need blood flow there. And so we need to be able to heat that external area as well effectively to get regeneration and improved blood flow because it's erectile tissue and it's important for women to have that erectile tissue healthy. And so the way that we do this with the lasers and we're heating on the outside is through a mechanism called photobiomodulation, where you use the light energy to stimulate cellular repair. So instead of damaging tissue, we're signaling it to regenerate. And so that is the key difference. So now let's bring it back to the function. So what can we actually improve? So everything related to tissue health and sexual function is what we can improve. So we can improve lubrication, sensation, arousal, orgasmic strength, tightness, mild to moderate, and even severe incontinence. So when you combine these treatments with regenerative therapies like PRP, often referred to as the O-shot, you can amplify those results. And that's exactly what we do in practice, is to stack those regenerative treatments. So now here's the most important takeaway. Not all vaginal rejuvenation is the same. Not all lasers are the same. Not all devices are the same. And not all providers understand the science. This is highly technical. It requires understanding laser physics, as we just went over, and understanding tissue responses to the laser, and knowing how to customize and how to stack those treatments to get you results. Because patients are not buying treatments. They're buying outcomes. They're buying results. You're buying results. And so this is just one part of what I call the female sex system, which is a full framework and stacking for optimizing women's sexual health and function at every age. And this is where medicine is evolving.